Welcome to the Women's Football Show here on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Kerry Pollock. Alison McConnell, Cara Henderson and Queen's Park manager Craig Joyce joins us here today. First of all, let's have a look at the results from the weekend. It was Aberdeen 1, Dundee United 1, Glasgow City 8, Queen's Park 0, Motherwell 0, Partick Thistle 4, Montrose 0, Spartans 3, and of course Celtic and Rangers involved in their Champions League games. Okay, let's start, Craig. How have you been enjoying the switch up? Of course, first from SWPL 2 to 1 before we get into the game.
Yeah, loving it. Which is a bit wild considering some of the results we've had, but it's a chance to go and learn at that level, and the girls have been fantastic as the staff have as well, so absolutely loving it. You've
played a lot of teams in the top half of the table already so far. How difficult have you found that?
Aye, somebody needs to have a look at themselves for doing that. That's a disgrace. No, we have, and we knew that was going to be a test, and I've said this in quite a lot of interviews I've done. I know our seat at the table, I know where we are, and I know where we want to be. We're not quite there yet, and it's going to take us about the first third of the season to get it out of the way and suss everybody out before we can move ahead. But I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the challenge. We've obviously learned for the first game and went and tried to play as open as we have, and it's been really good. I've really enjoyed it.
What are your targets for the season then?
Our targets are to finish above the 3 that are going to go down. I don't think we've had that, and I don't think we can hide it. If we don't, then we don't. We'll give it a right good go, but we're not there just to survive, to be honest with you. I think if you win with the mentality just to survive, then it's not going to work and you're going to come straight back down. So we need to go and have a go, and I think we've proved that in a couple of the games where we've picked up points that we should maybe have been a wee bit more comfortable in games, but we're still learning. So
yeah, we've spoken about it before as well on the show, Cara, those 3 teams that do drop down. It is a brutal circumstance if you find yourself in that area around about the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not normal that, to be honest, without any sort of, if you're in the bottom 3, you're done as well. That's not normal, but I suppose it does add a wee bit of extra that it's not, there's been a couple with Glasgow Women, they were down. There was not really any sort of doubt about that. So adds a wee bit of jeopardy, but I do think it's really harsh. I mean, 3 teams going down, and also there'll be good teams going down as well. I don't think it'll be necessarily reflective of a one terrible team or anything like that. So it'll be interesting, and it does make it more interesting in terms of that all points are really important.
Absolutely. Well, Ali, it was an Edinburgh derby at the weekend, 4-0 win for Hearts. Those 2 teams have been at the top of their game. Was that a scoreline that you expected to see?
No, I have to be honest. I didn't think there was much between the teams. On paper, I think Hibs looked like maybe the favourites for it. I think they'd gone into the game 1, it was Easter Road, and 2 on the back of that draw against Celtic the previous Friday night, unbeaten. Hearts obviously dropped points to Glasgow City, but I thought Hearts were excellent, particularly in the first half. I thought good goals, good performance, a lot of energy. There's a real menace about them, I think, in the final third. And yeah, I think Hibs were pretty shell-shocked. I think they came out after the break, tried to find a way back into it. Hearts settled, and then of course picked them off for that late 4th goal. But yeah, I think Eva Olid will be delighted. I think last year they finished 8 points ahead of Hibs, but Hibs had the better of them over the derby. So I think quite a statement win for Hibs on Friday night, I think.
How impressed have you been with her, Craig, since she's been in at Hearts?
I think it's been a progression each season, and that's what you're looking for. I think for us, we obviously drew them the first game, and I'd watched them in the Scottish Cup final and the semi-final last season. It's a totally different side. There's some real energy in there and some quality, and for us, unfortunately, we played a bit open against them. Maybe shouldn't have tested ourselves to play open at that level, but they're a really good side. And I was saying before we even started talking here that they had 9 players that could have went into any other Prem 1 team sitting in the stand that day, so it shows you the depth they've got in the squad as well, and I don't think they'll get caught out with that this year, but I'm really, really impressed with them.
Absolutely. Well, Cara, first win of the season under the belt, and first goal as well. Are you claiming that one?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it has to be mine, I'd like to think, but I'm just happy to contribute.
Yes, of course. Are you happy to get the monkey off your back though?
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, I think yesterday in general was just a really good day for us. I think that it was the performance and the result that we needed and that we sort of were looking for. It's only 1-1 in terms of only one good performance, so we need to keep going. I think that there was so many positives to take from yesterday that now the next test is that has to be carried. We've got Celtic at the weekend, which won't be easy. But I'm delighted to be sitting here finally and to be able to say, yep, yesterday was a really good performance.
Was there anything the team did differently? Did you change anything at all going into the weekend?
Yeah, there was a few changes sort of behind the scenes this week. I think like fundamentally training was a lot better, which, you know, you train as well as you play, and I think that was evident. And there's a right determination about the girls yesterday. I thought from the minute we got there, I actually thought there was an aura of, we're no losing today. We're here to put up a right good fight. And I think that, you know, going to Fir Park, we didn't let them get in any sort of rhythm because, you know, their home stadium, that could have been an advantage for them, but we didn't let that happen. And I think we brought back what Thistle's all about and just working hard and right determination to do that for each other. And I thought that was abundant yesterday, and we saw the benefits of doing that.
Would you say that attitude runs throughout the whole squad and all the girls, obviously, and Brian and the coaching staff, that we're not going to let a defeat or a draw take us down here? We need to use that to get a win the following week.
Exactly that. I think that the message is never going to change from Brian. I mean, his standards and what he wants from his players is totally clear. And I actually think that we've got such a strong core group of players now that have been, you know, together for quite a few seasons, that's the minimum requirement. And I think that, being totally honest with ourselves, it just wasn't there the first 5 games. We sort of scraped a win against Spartans. I thought we were okay against, you know, Hibs for 45, City for maybe the game, but it just hasn't been there. And so I think that's why yesterday's so important. It was against another, you know, team that are really wanting to get top 6 with us, and it kind of all came together. And I think that those that maybe have came into the squad got that. I thought it sort of was like a penny drop. So the most important thing now, though, is to not get too carried away with it. I mean, it's the 6th game of the season or something like that, but I think it gives us a good, you know, stepping stone for going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the table then to see how things are shaping up there. Rangers, Hearts, Glasgow City, Celtic at the top there. In the middle we have Hibs, Partick, Thistle in the top 6, Motherwell, then Queen's Park, Aberdeen, Spartans, Montrose and Dundee United. Craig, Queen's Park still in that middle section of the table, still a very competitive. We like to look at the table in 3 sections almost, but it's almost like 3 separate little tables, but still a very competitive section in the middle there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's the shoulda, woulda, coulda. If we took points against Montrose, then you're looking at that table there thinking we could have been higher up where the team's coming after us, but that wasn't to be our day, and you take it, you learn from it and you move on. So we're well aware of where we want to be. If you want to stop the league right now and finish it on that, then I'll be happy. But no, I think the girls they've earned the right to be there, and they've took the points in the games that we've asked them to go and be competitive and take the points. So no, it's going to be, I think you're right, I think it is going to be 3 mini leagues all the way through the season. It's going to be quite interesting as it goes. This is only the beginning, so
absolutely.
Let's see how it pans out.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, let's move on to Champions League then. Ali, Celtic Rangers involved in that. Celtic advanced to the next stage with 2 wins. Are you impressed with how they saw their wins and got over the line?
Yeah, I think you would have expected them to emerge victorious from both teams that they were up against. Glasgow City were very comfortable winners against Intra this time last term. I think they've changed coach and changed players quite substantially from them, but I think you would expect Celtic to prevail. I think they were very dominant without being clinical. I think Elena had said after the game that she felt as though this is a team that needs to be a bit more comfortable with pressure, because now it's going to get tougher. You're going into a 2-legged playoff round in round 2. And I think that came through. I think you could sense a nervousness at points about Celtic. They were very, very comfortable in the game without quite killing off. Like, you know, they had to wait to, I think it was the 81st minute when Kit Lefersky scored the second goal and just made it a wee bit more comfortable. But yeah, I think now the bar is raised. I think the quality of who they could get in the draw at lunchtime will be a much, much tougher ask now to go in. But what they've done is they've advanced to a stage they've never been at before, which I think is important. The challenge now is really to see whether they can go a step further and go into the group stages. And of course, no Scottish side has been in the group stages of the tournament since it was reformatted, since we've got this new criteria and new facade of the competition. I think obviously Glasgow City got to the quarterfinals. I think that might have been 2020, the last time that we had a team that was representative at that stage. So I think all across Europe you can see that there have been advances made in the women's game. I think it's got harder season upon season for teams to go and make an impact. So I think it would be a phenomenal return for Celtic to go and make it into the group stages. I think it's still quite a substantial ask to do that.
Yeah, you already touched on it. Let's see what Alina Saduka had to say after those games. She says, I want to dream more. I think that we can do it. There is quality in this team, but we need to be better at handling pressure. It gets tougher and tougher. We are not 100% there yet, but got the win, which is the most important thing. We got the win and we can grow as a team. The foundations are there. Cara, do you find that when you come up against Celtic, albeit they were a dominant side, but there were kind of moments of weaknesses in there?
Small weaknesses. I think that, like any team, they've got weaknesses. I think that they're pretty dominant. That we have been the past couple of years. I think that definitely a target for us this season is that we didn't really. I think we ran Rangers close last year, but I don't think we pushed Celtic as much as we probably would have wanted to make it more difficult for them. I think there's always a chance that if you get a Celtic, Rangers, Glasgow City, one of these teams in 0-0 at half time, there's sort of expectation from their own point of view that that's not good enough. And I think at that point, there's a bit of panic that can set in. I don't think we did that with Celtic. I think we made it quite comfortable most times that we played them. So I think there definitely are, like with most teams, weaknesses. But I think in terms of the Scottish level, those weaknesses are pretty hard to exploit from our point of view anyway. Yeah,
well, Rangers also in the Champions League, they exit after 2 defeats to Arsenal and then Atletico Madrid. Craig, were they just a cut above, do you think, of where Rangers are at just now?
Yeah, we've played them a couple of times in the last few seasons, and obviously played them last year in the Glasgow Cup. And again, we went quite open against them and tried to make life difficult, and we were nowhere near the team we are just now. So I'm not saying we can go and do that again. And then when we played them a couple of weeks back, it was again the quality that they could bring onto the pitch. We were making changes to try and get fresh legs on the park, and they're making changes to go and score more goals. And it was that they've got a ruthlessness about them just now, which was maybe, I think it's harsh to say it was maybe missing last year, because you look at who they had up top with Kirsty Howitt, Jane Ross and Rio Hardy, but you've just added Katie Wilkinson into that as well, who's a machine. So I think there's a ruthlessness about them, and we've not had the pleasure of playing Celtic yet. So I think the last time anybody got close to them that wasn't a top team was probably when we were at Glasgow in the League Cup section. We drew nothing each of them. But that was one of the days where the weather and everything went for you up at K Park. So, and we could have nicked it at the end. But that was Fran Alonso's first ever game. So it was interesting. And you knew they were going to kick on for that point because they were a good side.
Yeah, when you look at Rangers now, Alan, look at the sides that they came up against. How do we bridge that gap between the Scottish game and the European level?
Money.
Financial.
I think it just comes down to resources. I think it's very, very difficult. When you look at the SWPL, you have 3 teams who are very close at the top, and even then I felt as though last season there was a difference between Celtic and Rangers and Glasgow City. Interesting to see how that plays out this year. I think Glasgow City lost key players. They lost Brenna Oliveira and Fiona Brown last season. Obviously they've brought them, well, Brenna's back, Fiona's still out, but they've reinforced the team on and off the pitch with a clear impetus to try and bridge that gap and sustain their position where they were and where they've enjoyed across really Scottish football over the last decade or so. But I think out with those 3 teams at the top, you don't see a consistent challenge from other teams because of what you said. You almost have a 3 leagues within a league. I think they're so far in front of the rest, and it will remain like that until you have a uniform professional league, until you can bring in professional contracts for every team in the top flight. I think it's very, very difficult to compete across the course of a campaign. And I think what that means then is when you go into European football and the standard is a level above again, it's very tough. And I think for Rangers in particular, they went to the non-champions route. It's exceptionally difficult, I think, every season, regardless of what team finds themselves in that position. For as long as Scotland has the 2 qualification berths for first and second, whoever's in second will find it exceptionally difficult to qualify because the standard of opposition that you're coming up against is formidable. Arsenal are the only British women's club team to win the Champions League. This is the level that you're going and competing against, and I think in a realistic sense, you would struggle to see a way past for any Scottish side.
Yeah, well, coming up this weekend, Cara, you, of course, as you mentioned, Celtic. Are you hoping for a side that have got a bit tired legs in them?
I would love that. Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to get that, to be fair. But yeah, listen, I think it's always a good mark to see where you're at as a team, as a club, and we're certainly going to give it a good go. I think that we've had top 6 experience for 2 years now, and we've learned a lot in those 2 years. And I think that, you know, we've got to go and we've got to hold a good account of ourselves against them, because you certainly don't want to play these teams and feel like you've been ran over in any way. So I think we've got confidence after that result as well, that we can hopefully have a bit of momentum going into it, but we're under no illusions of how difficult the game's going to be. Yeah,
and Craig, of course, Queen's Park take on Hibs this coming weekend. What are we expecting there?
It's going to be another difficult game. I've seen some messages saying Hibs will be looking to bounce back as well, and of course they should be, because they're another top side in the league, but we've just got to go and do our job and make sure we do it well and execute it over 90 minutes as opposed to yesterday when we'd done it for 45 and then had a 15-minute spell where we've come out and not done the job that we were supposed to do and conceded 5 goals. That seems to be the story of our season against the bigger teams, so we need to get a bit better at that, and that's the aim. It's not all we're going to work on, but that's the aim to improve on that as we go.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of myself, Cara, Alison and Craig, thanks for listening and thanks for watching.